In this particular problem, we need to show that the product of the following expression up to 2n factors is 2 raised to the power of 2n if 1 omega and omega square represents the cube roots of unity. Now, since 1 omega and omega square are the cube roots of unity, that would mean that the sum of the roots, which is 1 plus omega square, that's always equals to 0, and the product of the root, which is omega cube, that value is equals to 1. So let's begin with the left hand side. So here we have the expression 1 minus omega plus omega squared. So this is multiplied to 1 minus omega squared plus, here we have omega raised to the power of 4, but we can reduce this. So omega raised to the power of 4 can be also written as omega cubed multiplied to omega. Now we know that omega cubed, that value is equals to 1. So omega raised to the power of 4, this value is simply equals to omega. And let's use this. Now we have omega. Next, this is multiplied to 1 minus omega raised to the power of 4. So that's omega plus omega raised to the power of 8. So let's find out the value of omega raised to the power of 8. So this is omega raised to the power of 6 times omega squared. So omega 6 means we have omega cubed whole raised to the power of 2 times omega squared. So the omega cube value is 1. So that leaves us with only omega squared. So this is going to be omega squared in place of omega raised to the power of 8 multiplied to 1 plus omega raised to the power of 8. So that's omega squared. So using the same methodology, we can find out that omega raised to the power of 16 will be omega. And this is multiplied up to 2n factors. Right. Now, immediately we observe that this is the first expression and the third expression, they are same. So we can square it. And here we have the second expression and the fourth expression. So that's same. We have 1 minus omega squared plus omega squared. Then again, this is repeating up to 2n terms. So repetition up to 2n terms simply means that we will have this particular expression 1 minus omega plus omega square. So this is repeating up to n terms. And if we consider this other expression, which is 1 minus omega squared plus omega, so this is multiplied to itself n number of times. So that means it has n terms. Now since it's multiplied to itself n number of times, what we will do, we will raise the power to n times because it's multiplied to itself to n number of times. Multiplied to, so we have 1 minus omega squared plus omega. So that's also multiplied to itself n number of times. Right. Now we can rewrite the expression within the parentheses as 1 plus omega squared. But we have negative omega here, so we will subtract 2 omega from it, raised to the power of n. This is multiplied to, this will become 1 plus omega squared plus omega. Since we have negative omega squared, we will subtract 2 omega squared from it, whole raised to the power of n. This is done so that we can apply this particular property. The sum of the roots of the cube roots of unity are 0. So this leaves us with negative 2 omega raised to the power of n multiplied to negative 2 omega squared whole raised to the power of n. Right. So let's expand this. So here we have negative 2 raised to the power of n times omega raised to the power of n multiplied to negative 2 raised to the power of n times omega squared raised to the power of n. Right. So we have negative 2. So this negative 2 raised to the power of n and this one gets multiplied. So we have negative 2 raised to the power of n plus n. And we have omega raised to the power of n. This will get added to omega raised to the power of 2n. So this is simply negative 2 raised to the power of 2n times omega raised to the power of 3n. Further simplifying this, we should get negative 2 raised to the power of 2 whole raised to the power of n times omega cube whole raised to the power of n. So we have negative 2 whole squared. This is equivalent to positive 2 squared and whole raised to the power of n times omega cube, the product of the cube roots of unity, that's 1 raised to the power of n. So that means finally we get 2 raised to the power of 2n because this value is 1. Now that means given expression, that's when we multiply it up to 2n factors, then we get the result 2 raised to the power of 2n with the condition that 1 omega and omega square, these represents the cube roots of unity.